Hi. Um, it seems endless, these cycles of feeling burdened, like you're carrying some kind of a really heavy weight that's pressing in equally all over your body. But it presses on the emotions too. It seems to even kind of press in on the mind. And it's fun. Life is fun. Just as soon as you think you're on to something, look out. Anything we think we know, it's a really good idea not to trust it too much. This heaviness has been correlating really well with the solar storms, the coronal mass ejections, the CMEs. Sometimes when there's not an actual solar wind coming, there will have been one of those explosive things, a CME happen on the sun. And a couple of days later, we'll get the benefit of that. And so we'll get some auroras and so on. And so, as nicely as things have been correlating that way, this that I've been feeling in the last week or so, I can't blame it on that. So I just don't know. It's not an easy job being here in 3D. Not that the fullness of us is here. I mean, it's an illusion and it's not, folks. It all depends on your perspective. If we look at 3D from the perspective of, let's say, the other side, like when you're having an NDE, we look back and it seems so unreal. It seems like this is the dream and that's the reality. But that is the fruit of a different perspective. And so when you're here, I don't know, I think we have to be careful about calling it an illusion and wanting to just write it off like that. Because when you're here, it's not like that. Or when your perspective is here. And so, balance is my buddy, my friend that I search out in the midst of all of this. We can take multiple perspectives on things, and it's really helpful sometimes because it can truly lighten the load where we are, to just have a look at it from a bit of a distance, even staying in 3D, but just stepping back from things. Like I'm always saying, step back from the mind. Get to where you can be an observer of the mind instead of being locked into every little thought it thinks, Its mechanisms, its workings. And it's more than useful. It's that way that some people discover, oh my God, I'm not the mind. I thought I was. And you get a whole new reality can appear from it. So this deal with perspective is a big thing. I'm not talking about, mostly, I'm not talking about just shifting angles here in 3D, like looking at it from the Democrat side, looking at it from the Republican side. I think they're all Republicrats. It doesn't matter who gets in office. We get the same garbage. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I don't see anything in the current mix worth saving as far as the structures that are in place now, which hugely are to the benefit of the powers that were. We may have created them, we may have participated in that, but it was largely while we were sheepling and sleepling that this creating was more or less done through us. It looks on the surface like it was done by us, And that way, the powers that work and all, or ETs or whatever, can point their fingers and say, look how terrible mankind is, and look at all that he's up to, and he's warring, and he's fighting, and he's arguing, and he's all of this. And that's not strictly honest. Not if you have any depth of perception at all, and you see what's going on behind the scenes. I think you have to look at the whole picture, not just the surface appearance. I mean, besides which, what's out there is a reflection of what is within us. And so each one of us has some measure of control over what appears. So it's way more complex than a lot of us want to admit or grapple with. We want simple things that we can grab onto and say, this is true, and this is what I believe, and I'm right. It's not like that anymore. I mean, literally, at some point, you get right and wrong itself taken from you. Now, it's your higher self taking it from you, so it's not like, it's a big bad deal. But at some point, it just dissolves, and you realize, oh my God, that was a part of the false reality. That was just a part of dualism. To polarize, right, wrong, left, right, that kind of thing. And it's unbiting the apple, I like to call it, where we're doing a rewind on the whole Garden of Eden thing and saying, thanks but no thanks. I'll take my wholeness and my completeness, thank you very much. I don't care about this good and evil thing that's supposed to make us like the gods. Excuse me. What gods are those, huh? The ones behind the scenes that have been pulling the strings for a good long while. Aren't you glad their day is done? I mean, they're going out kicking and screaming, and they're not out yet. Don't think they are. They're probably fainting, F-E-I-N-T, with a lot of this weakness, just in order to catch out the white hats and the good guys and expose them, so that they can come in behind the scenes with another one of their famous, create the problem and then come in with the solution deal. Well, it's on us all to wise up and wake up. George Kavasilis likes to say, we hired those guys to come in. We contracted with them to come in and give us a hard time like this, to give us the kick in the hiney that we needed. He doesn't say it that way. That's me. To give us the what we needed to force us to wake up. If we were going to choose to do that, I mean, it's still not necessary to wake up. Some people it just forced into misery, and they're not choosing to let go of their misery. Right now, if you're attached to anything, you're vulnerable to this misery thing. And any kind of misery you have, if we'll look under anything that seems to be making us miserable, we'll find an attachment, numerous attachments. And I say that's a choice point where you can let go of them. I know, easier said than done, but you can set your intent and then just drop it into heart and let it be and watch things mature and play out. I guess that's what time is for. I like the way Sacred Sarah lays it out. Time is nothing but a mechanism to measure change in the cloud, in the wholeness. And it may seem a limitation now and here, but it really isn't. When we accept that we're divine, that changes the field. The dark ones want us to play on the mental playing ground, that field. They're DNA wasn't stripped, and they have full access to their mental capacities. Now, you and I all have phenomenal mental capacities as well. They've just been short-circuited in these bodies temporarily. All right? Don't accept any limits. Don't believe in anything that's going to limit you. It'll just look at it as a temporary challenge, maybe, or something like that. When we accept that we're divine, it's a new playing field, and it's one they really can't play on. It's one where they are at tremendous disadvantage, just as we are at tremendous disadvantage on the mental playing field. They've kind of got that one sewed up, more or less. Temporarily, we have higher mind, too, that will be integrating into our awareness here more and more as the veil's thin. And we're coming into the wholeness and completeness. But just accepting that we're divine changes everything. And it enables us to be at peace. It enables us to know that all is well, no matter how it seems on the surface of things. We've got some programming we've got to dig up and get rid of. All of it that says you're not divine needs to go. And so that's a real good way to occupy yourself. As soon as you plant the flower that says, I am divine, as soon as you plant that belief and you choose by your intent to believe in your own divinity, that's when the weeds will start cropping up and showing themselves to you. They'll pop up from the subconscious and they'll show you all those beliefs that we accepted along the way as we were being programmed. The beliefs in our worthlessness, in our inability, in our I'm only human. Get rid of that, okay? You never were human to begin with. I won't go off on that now, but boy, that's worthy of a journal all by itself. I'm only human. And this whole thing where people are going after eternity and immortality mechanically through the human vehicle. God bless them. They're so misled. I'm so glad I'm not riding that particular train. You know, we've ridden, a lot of us have kind of ridden them all, or we wouldn't be making this big shift. It's like we've tasted pretty much everything that 3D has to offer here. We've been the bad guy, we've been the good guy, we've been everything in between. We've wasted, you know, eons of time if looked at from a certain perspective, and from other perspectives we haven't wasted a minute. It's all been precious and vital and exactly right, exactly what it needed to be. And so detachment, my friends, if I could counsel anything, detachment. Wherever you've got a misery, you have an opportunity to detach from something. Go for it. Watch and observe. Keep looking, and you'll be shown what's under the misery. And chances are there'll be 2 or 3 layers as you're working your way down to the core of it, where you'll have an opportunity to really pluck up those weeds. Get them by the roots. It doesn't do any good when you're weeding to just cut the tops off and leave the roots. I mean, that's kind of pointless. You give yourself a little breather and then it comes back stronger than ever, you know? So, okay, I think I'll go, let me be sure. Yeah, I think I'll go record a written journal now. So, namaste.